Alrighty, I think we'll get started. Everyone that's here, hello. My name's Terry. I'm going to be hosting the webinar today. I run a business called Clever Fox Creative. And as you would know, we're going to be running over a whole bunch of stuff today around how to build your brand on Instagram. For anyone that's on here, I'd love if people popped in the chat who they are, where they're from, so that we can get a bit of a feel for who's around, and for the other people as well, they can see the other people in different industries and stuff like that as well. So cool. So just to introduce everyone on here today. So we've got Eleanor joining us, who runs a business called Social Punch. Eleanor is a social media strategist. I've worked with her on a whole bunch of clients and their social media, and she's absolutely kick-ass. So Eleanor, if you want to turn on your camera and give everyone a wave. Or not. Okay, I'll just carry on.
Hey guys, is that working?
yeah, all good now. Cool. So obviously I'm Terry. I just introduced myself, but I run Clever Fox Creative. I'm also a web and graphic designer, and we're also being joined by Nick, who is one of the designers at Clever Fox Creative. And Nick is going to be checking the Q&As so that we can answer any of your questions as we kind of go along throughout the webinar. And Nick, if you want to give everyone a wave and a hello.
How you going?
Cool. So some of the things that we're going to be covering. So we're going to be covering how to set your goals and find your why on Instagram as a platform. And we're going to be talking about how to create the content for your brand that's really unique to you. And by doing that, we'll identify some of the target clients, build up a bit of a community around your brand and what you represent. And then how to collaborate with other businesses on Instagram so that you can increase your reach, increase your community. And then I'm going to go over how to set up your brand on Canva. Canva allows for you to set up a brand in a way that you can create a bunch of posts and make it really consistent, ongoing as well. And some of the people this might be good for are people who aren't really sure if they're connecting with their audience at the moment, or how to connect with their audience, what kind of content might hit. Also new businesses who want to hit the ground running in terms of their socials, so making sure that they're posting consistently and really engaging content from the get-go. And then just anyone else in business as well that might be struggling to find their community and find their people. And as I mentioned, so if you are on Zoom, which you are, there is a little button down the bottom called Q&A. If you want to hit that and keep that open throughout the webinar, you'll be able to actually drop questions in there. And so what we'll do is we'll stop a few times over the course of the webinar, and we'll answer any questions that you might have. So anytime you think of anything, drop it in there. Don't wait until we get to the questions section, and then we'll just go through it all together. And yay, so I'm going to pass you over to the wonderful Eleanor, who is going to be talking you through building your brand on Instagram. Off you go, madam.
Cool, thank you, Terry. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Eleanor, for those of you who don't know me, and I run Social Punch. So I help businesses in the fitness and wellness space build their brands on social media. I started Social Punch about 1.5 years ago and recently rebranded my entire business, probably November last year, to focus solely on fitness and wellness. The reason being, this is my biggest area of passion, and fitness has played a really big part in my life, and I'm really passionate about helping people who are helping people become healthier versions of themselves, both physically and mentally. So I offer a range of services from social media management to content creation, social media training, whether that's one-on-one training or group training, and social media branding, which is something I'm really passionate about, and we'll touch on today. So I thought I'd give you a bit of background on what I was doing before I started Social Punch. I actually studied public relations at uni, and while I was studying and soon after I graduated, I was working for Sports Girl in the retail store in Rundle Mall. And back then Instagram was around, but a lot of small businesses weren't really getting around it. So and this is going back a fair few years ago now, I had this idea to start an Instagram account for the Sports Girl Rundle Mall store. And after going back and forth, I finally convinced head office to let me do it. And it was awesome. It gave us an opportunity to connect with our customers. It gave the team a lot of inspiration, and it created a really nice buzz within the community. So because it did really well, a lot of the other stores were then encouraged nationwide to start an Instagram account for each sports girl, which was kind of cool. So from there, I actually moved over to Melbourne to work for Sports Girl in head office, not just in social media, but in the buying department. So I assisted the head buyer across a few different categories within Sports Girl, which was kind of cool. And then moved back to Adelaide and worked for Sweat. So back then, Sweat hadn't quite evolved. It was the Kayla Tsinis brand. So for those of you who don't know Kayla, she's a global women's fitness trainer. She created the 12-week Bikini Body Guide. And when I started, it was quite a small team, and I worked in the marketing department, and then I was heavily involved in the branding for Sweat, and then moved into a product development department, which saw me design and develop the physical product range for the Kayla Tsinis brand and Sweat brand. From there, I moved on to the jewelry group, which was Zamels and Mazzucchelli's, and managed the social media platforms for those national jewelry brands. So that's basically me in a snapshot, and a few clients that I've worked with in the past and currently working with. I also work with a lot of fitness trainers who are looking to build their personal brands. That's something that's definitely important, no matter what industry you're in, to really focus on building your personal brand if you're a business owner, to make sure that you're building a community and representing your business well on socials. So obviously today's workshop revolves around building your brand on Instagram. So all the content today will be focused around Instagram. It will be relevant to other social media platforms if you're interested in building up some of your other platforms within your business. But as I specialize in the Instagram platform, I have focused everything around that today. So first thing we're going to talk about is strategy. So like anything, you need a strategy, you need a plan that's going to help you get to your end goals. So a strategy should be like your Bible. It's something that holds you accountable, you always refer back to, and it identifies where you're at in your business and where you want to go. So a few things you want to think about when developing a strategy is getting really clear on your goals, your business goals, your why on the platform, so your point of difference, your target audience, and what you can actually offer them, what message you want to get across on Instagram. So when it comes to setting goals, think about what you actually want to achieve from using Instagram for your business, and your social media goals should also reflect your overall business goals. So think about things like brand awareness. You may really want to get your brands out there and create a lot of awareness around what you're doing. Goal may be growing your community. So you may really want to be focused on building a really dedicated community in the direction of your business. Educating others in the industry. You may want to position yourself as an expert in your industry and provide a lot of value and educate your audience on what you're doing. Or collaborating with other businesses. That could be another goal. You may want to be focused around connecting with other businesses or people within your industry to collaborate and create content on Instagram. So there's no set goals, no right amount of set goals. It just depends what you actually want to achieve and what's going to help you get there. Then moving on to what is your point of difference? So this is something that I work with in my one-on-one workshops with clients. What makes your business different? No matter what industry you're in, we all have competitors. We all have people doing what we're doing. So it's really important to identify what makes your business different to others, because that's what's going to set you apart from the rest. That's going to attract your target client to your business. So really think about what you do differently, what makes you different to other people in your industry. An exercise I really like doing is kind of identifying some of these points that I've got in the slides. So getting really clear on your values. your identity, especially on Instagram. It's such a visual platform, so it's important to have a really strong visual identity. So taking into consideration, your colors, your assets, your logo, how can you present that really well, and make a strong impact on Instagram. Your brand personality. This is really important as well. Each brand should have a really unique personality that helps them stand out from others. Your brand vision, what you want for your business, your brand mission, your story, and the key messages. So I feel like identifying all of these points will really help you understand where you're at in your business, where you want to go, and help you portray the right message on social media. Then we move on to who your target client is. So this is something that often gets, forgotten or neglected a lot with when people are using social media for business. It's so important to understand who you're actually talking to on social media and who you're trying to attract. So work out the key attributes of your ideal client and visualize this person when creating content on Instagram. So an exercise I do with my clients is help them understand maybe 3 different client personas. So for example, a Pilates studio that I work with, they have quite a wide range of clients. So their 3, client personas would be, an athlete would be one. They're really passionate about helping athletes use Pilates to get them to their end goal or help them in their athletic career. Another client would be pregnant women. They really want to help women during the pregnancy and post-pregnancy as well. And then another client would be someone going through rehab, like if they're injured and they need to be on a rehab program. Obviously, 3 very different clients, but all very relevant to the business. So once they identify those 3 clients, then they can break down some further points. So if you look at the example, I hope it's not too small to read, but looking at things like what are their needs, what are their interests, what content do they like and interact with, what other brands do they follow, what's their demographic, when are they online. So once you break down those client personas and then break down all those extra points, it'll really help you visualize that person when you're creating content and speaking directly to them. Then we move on to your Instagram bio. So another really crucial point, your Instagram bio is essentially your first impression. It's the first thing that people see when they go on your profile. So you want to make sure that your bio is updated with all the relevant information of your business. Your bio is something that you can change quite regularly as well. You don't need to have, a set bio and never change it. You can update it regularly whenever you have, new business updates or things like that. So what I'd recommend doing is have all the key information of your business in your bio. So when a reader looks at it, they know exactly what your business does, what you're offering. And another really important point to consider is having a call to action with a link. So a call to action is essentially something that you want the viewer to do when they're reading your bio, and then back it up with a link. So if you look at my example, sorry, I know it's super small, but a previous bio of mine was a Instagram workshop with a date. So that's essentially the call to action. And then I had the link that people needed to click on to get to that and register. So if you have an event or you have a new product available on your website, or a new blog that you've got up, definitely update those call to actions regularly so it kind of keeps it fresh. Something else to consider is adding to your Instagram story highlights. So for those of you who don't know, Instagram story highlights are the little circles above the feed grid, and they're essentially saved Instagram stories. So Instagram stories only last for 24 hours. However, you can save them to Instagram story highlights. So if you don't already have them up, consider putting highlights that represent your business, maybe your key services, or something that's really relevant and important to your business that you want saved. It's also important to do a bit of an audit of those Instagram story highlights as well. So you may have some super old ones in there that aren't really relevant anymore, or you just want to do a bit of a clean out. So I would probably do that, once a month, or once every 2 months. Go through your Instagram story highlights and just your feed in general. I think it's good to do a bit of an audit, look at, any old content that is not really relevant anymore. It might have all your, old branding on there. So yeah, doing an audit is a good idea also. So that's essentially the start of what your strategy should look like. That's kind of the groundwork. So having a really strong Instagram bio, identifying your target clients, looking at your key messages and setting those goals. So that's what I'd start with before you're, creating content and putting stuff on your page. You really want to get the foundation right. So then we move on to content, which is a bit of a beast, and it's probably my favorite topic as well. So your content plays such an important role in meeting your social media goals. If you're providing value to your community, you're connecting with them, you're staying true to your brands, and getting those key messages out there, as well as being consistent, which is super important. You will build relationships and trust with your audience, build a strong online presence, stand out against your competitors, and lead to increase of right clients. So your content really does represent your business. Whatever content you're putting on your Instagram page is a representation of your business. So you want to make sure that you're choosing quality over quantity always. If you're going to take anything from today, please take this. It's so important to put out quality content. I often see so many businesses who feel like they need to post every single day and just get stories up all the time, but there's not really any context behind it. They're just doing it because they feel like they have to, and because their competitors doing it and they're watching what other people are doing. Just stay focused on you and really focus on putting out quality content. So something I like to consider, and I would definitely recommend taking this on board before you're posting something on Instagram, or even before you're creating any type of content. Ask yourself, does this post or does this piece of content teach my Instagram community something? Does it tell them something? Am I asking them something? Am I inspiring them about something? So keep those in mind when you're putting out content. It'll just get you kind of in that flow and thinking about whether you're actually putting out quality content. So content themes, or content pillars, like some people like to call them, are definitely really valuable to create, because content themes are essentially themes that help you separate all your content to make sure that you're getting the right message out there. And also, it also helps you consider the types of content that you're putting out there to make sure that you're ticking all the boxes and you're meeting those social media goals. So some examples of themes that you may want to consider are education. So really focusing on creating content that's educating your audience. Team, there could be a whole content theme around your team and, interesting things about your team that make them a part of your business, or why they're so valuable to your brand. Your community, like showcasing the people in your business community and why they're, so valuable to you. Just general business updates and tips and inspiration. So have a think about what message you want to get across. And this is why it's so important to set those social media goals, because once you have those goals in place, you can then create content themes that reflect those goals. So I'm just going to go in a little bit deeper now. So once you've got those content themes, the next few slides are really focused around how you can then create content to make sure that you're really embracing those themes. So something that's really important is providing value to your audience and educating them on something. So you want to position yourself as an expert. You want people to come to you because you know everything about your industry, and discuss important topics that they're going to find interesting and valuable, and take important things away. So educating them and sharing that in a really unique way. The two screenshots which you can go on these profiles to look into a little bit further are from Form Pilates Studio and Clancy, who's the owner. So something that Clancy and the team at Form do really well are communicating messages and sharing their messages in a really unique way. For example, what Clancy often does is provides, workouts that people can do at home, or demonstrating, certain movements so people can get thinking about things in a different way. Or if they have a special offer within the business, they will communicate that in a video format as opposed to just doing a regular post with the message. So it's just about getting you thinking about different ways to communicate that message. Creating excitement and showing sneak peeks. If you have a new offer that you're about to release, maybe, showing people some sneak peeks in a feed post or Instagram stories to get people excited. So they're just a few things to consider. Secondly, it's really important to showcase the people in your team. People want to see the people behind the business. They want to see the people that make up your brand. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do this in a really fun and creative way. And I feel like it really creates a lot of excitement and buzz for your team as well when they're involved in the social media platforms of the business. And it kind of encourages them to share the content also and get around it a little bit more. So showcasing the personalities of the people in the business is really nice. You could do this, in a normal feed post, and then maybe one of the team members can write a caption about themselves or share some fun facts. It's also, a fun idea to maybe get one of your team members to take over Instagram stories for the day and showcase what their day looks like. So it gives people an insight into the different members of the team and what their responsibilities are. If you have new members of the team, that's really important as well to share, just to, make them feel like they're a part of the brand, and give your Instagram community a bit of an intro. Then moving on to professional photography and videos. So professional photography and videography is super important. I find it's really nice to have a mix of professional photos and videos and, photos and videos that you take in your business, because it kind of balances out the content nicely. If you are considering planning a content shoot, or getting some professional content developed for your business, it's really important to plan it out prior. So if you don't have any marketing support and you're doing it all yourself, definitely consider the next couple of points. So firstly, get really clear on your objectives and what you want to achieve from the shoot. So if you've organized to get a photographer around to get some new content for your Instagram page, really think about what you actually want to get out of the shoot and what message you want to get across. Brainstorm and find visual inspiration. So something I like to do is create a mood board on Pinterest. If I have an idea for a content shoot for a client, and they've given me a brief or ideas of what they want, I'll then go onto Pinterest and kind of mood board different visual ideas. So then things kind of come together as well. Once you see all your ideas in a mood board, it might even, generate more ideas, or you'll think about changing the way you're doing certain things. Plan, write a list of everything that you need for the shoot. So obviously consider things like photographer, if there's models involved, props, the location of the shoot, and your budget. So everything should obviously work around your budget. Also consider how much content you're developing, because this is what you'd need to give the photographer in your brief so they know exactly what needs to be taken on the day. And also consider what platform the content will be featured on. If it's for Instagram specifically, obviously things will be shot differently. You might want content shot for, your Instagram feed, which will be more square, or Instagram stories content will be a bit different. So have a think about what platform the content will be featured on and include that in your brief. I've just included a few visual examples from a shoot I coordinated for Gym Food Australia. So they're a meal prep company, and at the time they were launching their new summer menu. So obviously the whole shoot was coordinated around summer and launching their, new fresh menu. So a lot of the props that I considered were summer inspired. So like summer inspired fruit and vegetables, bright colors, just keeping everything clean and fresh. And then considering how I was going to then communicate those messages on Instagram. So the last visual was like a moving, a little video of the new summer menu. So that was something I took into consideration prior to the content shoot to make sure that we were getting the right amount of content. Okay, so now we're onto video. So I just wanted to share a few stats for you to reflect on. Social media posts with video have 48% more views, and 72% of customers would rather learn about a product or service by way of video. So video content is super important. It's definitely where things are at and where things are going on Instagram and just social media in general. There's different types of videos that you can create for your business. A few video posts, just regular videos in your feed, Reels, which is a more recent update, IGTV, Instagram stories, and Instagram lives. So I'm going to go into them a little bit further now. So Reels, for those of you who aren't familiar, Reels are basically a video feature on Instagram where you can create a 15-second or a 30-second video. What I like about Reels is you can get super creative and just have fun with the type of content that you're creating. So what you can do is open up the Reels feature on Instagram and take a video and then play around with the different features. So you can add text, you can add music, which makes it really fun, or you can just take video content on your phone and then put different snippets of those videos into the Reels app to play around with it if you wanted to capture a few different things. So they're a great way to showcase your brand personality and communicate messages differently. So if you have the opportunity to put together a video, try doing it on Reels because the reach is really high and it's definitely something that's interesting and engaging for your audience. I'm not sure if those will play. So the sound's not working on my end, but these are just two different Reels created by Body Fit Training Unli and Form Pilates Studio. So as you can see, they just show snapshots into, the first one's just a snapshot into a strength testing program that the guys did there. So it's just video content that was taken by the team. And the second, oops, see if that works. The second one was taken by the team at Form Pilates, and they were just showcasing their new merch range. So again, pretty straightforward. They just took the content themselves on their phone and then put it in the Reels app to create a really fun video. Then moving on to IGTV. So for those of you who don't know, IGTV or Instagram TV are videos that are 1 minute or longer. And they're usually more educational type videos. I would consider IGTV if you're wanting to create some kind of series. So what I used IGTV for last year with a friend of mine, Maria from Eat Me Social, was we created a series called Lexi Punch, which was essentially a IGTV series to help small business owners create a healthy relationship with social media. And we dropped a new video every week on IGTV talking about a different topic. So that was really fun because it gave us an opportunity to test a series type content and see how that went, and we got an awesome response. So that's definitely something to consider if you're wanting to communicate a message and dropping episodes each week. Something else you could do are like how-to videos or team chats. You might want to talk about a different topic within your business each week and have someone different in your team jump on and talk about that. Could be discussions around upcoming events or services offered in your business, or even a behind the scenes video. If you have a new service that you're about to launch or a new product, you may create, an IGTV around like behind the scenes of what went into that process and all the different elements involved. So essentially just a longer form video that is providing a lot of education to your audience. Then moving on to Instagram stories. So Instagram stories are just as important as your feed posts. It's super important to have a really strategic Instagram stories plan. What I would do is look at your feed content, so the content that you're putting on your Instagram feed for the week, and then create a plan for your Instagram stories that reflects that feed content. So Instagram stories should still be, sporadic. And if you're somewhere and you just want to capture a story, that's still very relevant and important. However, to be consistent and to make sure that you're showing up regularly on stories, having a plan will be really helpful. Stories help to drive engagement. They're a great way to connect with your audience and start conversations with them. They build a sense of authority and they create brand awareness. So a few different ideas for your planned stories could be like a day in the life of team members, which I mentioned before. So this could be really fun and a great way for your audience to connect with your team, have someone different take over. It could be something as simple as, just following them around for the day. They're just kind of jumping on as soon as they get into the office, or even if it's prior to that, like the time that their alarm goes off, depending what industry you're in and what message you want to get across. Setting quick or fun challenges, team tips. So you might have a different team member jump on, a couple of times in the week and share a different tip or, insightful information about a different topic. Use Instagram stories to discuss new products and current offerings. So if you have a new service or product, use stories to jump on, especially if it's just launched. Be consistent and jump on weekly or even daily to talk about those new offers. And just daily and weekly check-ins, even if you have, the face of your business, or as the business owner, if you want to jump on daily just to check in and ask your audience what they want to see from you, what they're finding valuable, what they want to learn more about within your business. Just a few features as well to consider. So there's so many features that you can use on Instagram stories that really will help to increase that engagement and interaction with your audience. So a few that I like to use quite often and I find helpful to connect and increase reach is a location tag. So when you use a location tag on your stories, it then gets added to that particular location sticker. So if someone's searching, say, prospects, and you've used that sticker, they will potentially see your story. Polls are really good as well to find out information from your audience, whether it's something serious and you actually want to do a bit of analysis, or whether it's something kind of fun. Polls are good just to create that extra bit of engagement and interaction. The question sticker is good. This can be hit or miss sometimes. So especially if you don't already have a strong Instagram stories plan, I'd kind of be super consistent with your stories and then build up to using a sticker like the question sticker to create that interaction and find out information from your audience. Always tag people if they're in your story. It's a great way for them to then share your story. The emoji slider is always really fun. Countdown and quiz. So they're just a few to consider. What I also would like to raise is keeping your Instagram stories super branded, which we'll delve in a little bit deeper, and Terry will touch on this when she discusses Canva. But branded Instagram story posts and stories are really important because it makes your story become easily recognizable. So what I would do is use the same type of fonts. Obviously with Instagram stories, there's so many different fonts and colors that you can use. It's easy to get carried away and add like a million stickers and all these things to make it really fun, but try and stick to brand colors, fonts that represent your brand, or maybe just stick to the same 2 or 3 fonts all the time, and keep things on brand, because that will help people recognize you when they're looking at your story. Just a few apps to consider. Obviously Canva is a really important one, and again Terry will touch on this a little bit later, but Canva is a great design platform where you can design branded assets for your Instagram feed and stories. So you can add in all your brand elements and create designs that are really interactive and engaging. Mojo is probably one of my favorite video editing apps for stories. They just make stories look really fun. You can add in videos and images into different templates and create these really fun and engaging stories. And Later is also a great app to consider if you want to plan and schedule your content. So obviously planning is super important. Once you have, all your content planned out and ready to go, it's using an app like Later is really helpful because you can put all your content into that app. You can add in all your captions, you can schedule your content, and you can visually see what it's going to look like as well. So you may want to change things around to make it more visually pleasing. And Later also allows you to publish your content as well. So it's really helpful if you're time poor and you don't want to spend a lot of time on your phone constantly posting. Just put it all into an app like Later. Okay, so now we move on to the last topic that I'm going to discuss, which is collaborations. Another really important topic to consider, and one of my favorites. So I call it collab with your gut because it's really important to collaborate with businesses that you align with, and it's also important to follow your gut when you're collaborating with someone. So no matter what type of scenario it is, whether you're reaching out to someone or someone reaches out to you, you want to align with businesses and people that hold the same values as you, because you're going to get the best possible outcome when you do that. So before you even consider that, get really clear on what you actually want to achieve from the collaboration, because this will help the direction that it goes in, and help you communicate things a lot better. So do your research and connect with businesses that you're proud to work with. If a brand approaches you and wants to collaborate and you're not familiar with them or you don't know much about them, definitely do your research, give them a stalk on Instagram, see what they're about, look at what type of content they're producing, what their Instagram community is like, what people are saying about their brand. Something really important to remember, and keep your community in mind. So keep your target audience in mind and your Instagram community, because essentially you're presenting the collaboration and content to them. So you want to keep them in mind to reflect on whether you think they're going to find value from the collaboration and they're going to enjoy it. So build your relationship with this personal business before moving forward with the collab. Before you agree to anything, really get to know them. So after you've done some research, start to build a relationship with them, because this will help you understand whether they're actually the right fit for your business. A few tips and things to consider if you want to collaborate with someone and you want to build a relationship on social media. First thing you want to do is actually follow that person. That's the first step. I often have, and I've seen so many businesses reach out to myself and clients that want to collaborate, but they're not even following the business. They don't obviously know much about the business. They don't really take the time to build that relationship. So first step, follow them. Second step, engage with their content. So actually, read their content and engage with it. So comment on their posts when, you find it, when you think it's relevant to say something. If you have something, important to say, engage with their Instagram stories. I wouldn't go spamming them, but just when you feel like it's relevant and important. And also, bring up important topics, start interesting conversations rather than just commenting with a whole bunch of emojis. Actually take the time to comment on what they're talking about. So once you've kind of, built up that relationship and you feel like the time is right, you've had a bit of engagement, reach out to them via DM, so direct message. And it's always nice to obviously address the person that you're talking to, introduce yourself, and maybe start by acknowledging something that they do that you really love, or something positive that the business is doing. So it just starts the conversation on a nice foot, and you've done all the kind of groundwork to get there. So there are a few tips in terms of how to kind of start that and what to look out for with collaborating with the business. Just wanted to share a few examples now. So obviously I rebranded my business end of last year to focus solely on fitness, and to celebrate the launch of the new direction of my business, I wanted to collaborate with a friend of mine, Chris, who is the head boxing trainer at a boxing club called TJ Smith's. So I've been a part of that boxing club since I was a kid, and it's really influenced, I guess, the direction of my business as well. It's played a major part in my life. and it's a big part of who I am. So it was really special for me to collaborate with someone like Chris, because our values are aligned, and we've been a big part of each other's life for a really long time. And what we did was put on an event, and Chris ran a few boxing classes, and I invited clients, people who've been a part of my brand, people in the fitness industry to be a part of it. And yeah, it was a really fun day. I also collaborated with food and coffee businesses that were local and that, you know, I've supported and support me. So just, you know, more examples of collaborating with people who, you know, you feel aligned with. So I collaborated with Nutrition Republic, who provided some awesome food, and Abbott's and Kinney, who supplied all the coffee. So it was, yeah, quite a big collaboration. And when I say collaborations with businesses, it doesn't need to be on a scale like this. It could be something as simple as a webinar or a Instagram live or a content shoot. So there's different types of ways to collaborate. All of them are super important. It just depends on what goal you want to get out and making sure you're aligned with that person and business. So just a few snapshots of some other ways to collaborate. If you've agreed to a brand collaboration with, you know, another business or a product, and they want you to create content around that product, what I always encourage my clients to do is get really creative with how they're going to share the message so it comes across authentically, and not being afraid to knock one back if it's not the right fit. So again, if a brand comes to you and you don't feel like it's right, your values aren't aligned, it's okay to say no. So a few examples at the top there are examples of products that some of the fitness trainers I work with have presented the product in a really unique way, whether that's video content or just being really fun and creative to showcase their personality. And then at the bottom there, Maria and I, who run Lexi Punch, collaborated with the Girl Gang Wellness, and we did an Instagram live. So that's another form of collaboration. And something Star Runner do quite often is a bit of a series type content where they have a different fitness trainer or someone in the wellness industry who goes live on their channel or produces content for them. So it's really fun to think that you can get super creative with the way that you collaborate with someone. It doesn't have to be something super big. I'd always start quite small and yeah, have fun with it. So that is all from me for the moment. That is basically, I guess, Instagram brand building in a nutshell, and some important topics that I think are really important to consider when you're starting a strategy, and things to take into consideration. So I'm going to pass you on to Terry, who's going to delve a little bit deeper into some of those topics. And I think we'll have time for questions at the end.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eleanor. That was awesome. I feel like I learned so much just then. So, and it's been a year since we had our last webinar, which is crazy. I was just thinking about it then when you were bringing up. Yeah, collaboration is king. So thank you so much. I think we do have some questions, Nick. Let me know. So I'll let him hop on.
Yep. Yes, I've got a few here sent to me. So this one is there such thing as too much content? At what point does it get spammy?
I don't think there's such thing as too much content. I think as long as you're providing value and you're planning out your content, I would just look at your content more strategically and look at the different elements that you can put out content. So maybe spread your content out from feed to Instagram stories. If you feel like that's too much, maybe you want to put content on a different platform, but there's no right or wrong. I would usually post, say, 4 or 5 times a week for my clients' accounts. That seems to be a nice sweet spot. So if it's less than that, that's totally fine. I would just consider what type of content you're putting out and maybe make it more diverse. So look at things like video content as opposed to just putting out like one single image post every day. So just making sure that each piece of content is valuable and represents your goals, really.
Okay, I have a follow-up for that actually. So if you've got, say, a piece of pillar content, do you think it's okay to just go and put that out the same way on all the different platforms, or is it better to distribute it differently depending on who you're talking to and what platform?
If it's one same piece of content,
Yep.
It's definitely important to consider mixing that up depending on the platform, because each platform will be talking to a different audience essentially. So your Instagram audience is most probably going to be very different to your LinkedIn audience, for example. So sometimes dependent on the content as well, sometimes you can get away with it, but I would really consider what type of content it is and what message you're trying to get across and who you're actually talking to. Because yeah, like I said, each platform has a different audience, and it's going to get portrayed differently. So if it's like a campaign type of piece of content, for example, when I relaunched my business, I had a professional video created and I shared that across all my platforms because I loved it and I wanted everybody to see it, and I felt like it was relevant to everyone. However, if it's not that, I guess, campaign type content, I would definitely consider your audience and maybe changing that slightly to each platform.
Sweet. Yeah, totally. Awesome. Thank you. I have a couple more. One is, do you have any tips to overcome team members being camera shy?
This is a great question, and it's kind of ironic because it's ironic that I work in social media because it took me ages to put myself on the camera myself. I would never, like, if someone's not comfortable with something, like I wouldn't, really encourage them if it's just not something they want to do. But Instagram stories are a great way to start. And what I would do is get people in a group together so they don't feel like the camera's just on them and they need to communicate a message on their own. So maybe if it's a group of people, on camera, like they don't have to say too much. It kind of like warms them up to that and they feel kind of supported by the rest of the team as well. That's a great way to start. If they want to practice videos themselves, so rather than making them do something on the spot or giving them a time frame, just kind of getting them to warm up in front of the camera, getting them to practice themselves. I think that's a great way to start because it can be super daunting, but I found it really beneficial when I had someone with me. So when I started that IGTV series, having Maria with me was really helpful because we had each other to bounce ideas off of, and we went at our own pace. And it just, instantly made me feel more comfortable. So I would definitely consider those points. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah, it sounds like just, if there is room to play with, getting in a state they're probably more comfortable with, rather than so rigid and structured.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right, we've got one more. It's if I'm running fitness classes, do I need to get consent from all my clients before posting videos of them?
Yes, I would definitely consider if they have, forms that they need to fill out or something at the start, definitely make sure that's in there. If there is, videos going that day, like making sure that Instagram content or social media content is included in your agreement forms from the start, because some people don't like to be on camera and don't, I guess, want to make people feel uncomfortable. Even if you're, running some stories during a class, just maybe mentioning it at the beginning of the class, that you are going to be putting content on social media. I think it's important to make sure that you have their consent, especially if it's something that, they're not comfortable with.
Awesome. Thank you. That's it for now.
Cool.
Cool. All right. I will carry on the next section. So I thought this would be good to go over because strategy is one thing, but actually trying to implement that in terms of how things look and feel is a whole other thing. And I understand that some businesses find it quite hard to keep things branded, I guess, specifically for their social media. So as Eleanor was saying before, Canva is one of those kinds of platforms that can be really helpful for this, because you can set it up to be super consistent. And also doesn't rely on you being a designer necessarily to be able to create that content, because it's really set up for anyone. Now, just to heads up, so Canva is generally free, but in order to use the branded side of Canva, you do need to pay for the pro version, which is only $18 a month. And if you pay for it yearly, it's actually cheaper than that again. And I think it's worth it if you're not a designer, and you don't want to hire a designer necessarily to do that kind of content for you. It gives you a lot more control about what you're putting out there. And it gives you access to so many other things outside of just the branding side, which I'll walk you guys through. And then also what you'll otherwise need is just a bit of an understanding about what fonts, colors that you use with your brand. So if you had your logo professionally done, they would have probably given you a bit of a style guide, which might have covered some fonts that you use, might have covered the colors that you use as well. And if they didn't, I don't think there's any harm in going back and asking if you could just get a bit of an overview about what to use. Most designers would be happy to do that. And that way you have that consistency as well, and it ties back to your logo all the time. So I just wanted to run you over Canva. So we'll go for each step. So once you do create an account, this is kind of the dashboard that you'll get as you log in. So it gives you some ideas and inspirations pretty much straight off the bat about what you can create with Canva. And it's got this menu down the side. So the thing that I'm going to be running over today is called the brand kit. So that's that link down the left-hand side in the menu. And this has got what it's going to kind of look like once you get there. And so what you're going to be able to do here is upload your logos and all the variations of your logo. You'll be able to upload your color scheme, and you'll be able to upload your fonts. And that way, anytime you edit anything, you can, within 2 clicks, you'll be able to make it exactly branded to your current style of your business. So I will start with the logos. So we're going to use one of our clients as an example. So we do style guides when we're doing logo design. And so this is for one of our clients, Mame. As a part of their style guide, they'll get some color schemes involved. So we have, 3 or 4 colors that they can use depending on what kind of content they're producing. And so we're going to load these ones into Canva. And then they also have their typography. So their logo has one specific type of font, but in terms of like any of their digital marketing, their website, their graphics, anything, we use a different font that ties in really well with it. And we've broken that down in the style guide, so we know exactly what weight of font, I suppose, you'd use for titles, what type you would use for subtitles, and then again for the content, the body content of the graphic as well. So we'll tie these over to Canva so you can see how they kind of do that. So we'll start with the logos. So it's super simple. All you need to hit is a plus whenever you're adding any of these things. And if you have multiple variations of a logo, I would recommend uploading all of them. So, because you never know, like sometimes you might have an icon. So for Mame, they have these arched doors as an icon on its own without the actual word Mame attached to it. And this can be super useful if you've got, a bold testimonial block with, big text, and you don't want to have their full logo really small on the bottom. You can just have their cute little arched doors at the bottom just to tie back their brand without necessarily having to use the full logo, for example. And then they've got the full logo where it's got the writing, they've got one with a tagline and things like that. So by uploading all of them, you can use whichever one suits at the time and in the format that you're using it in. So for them, this is the amount of different types I've got, which is a few, but it looks a little bit cleaner once you actually get to adding the graphics and editing everything behind the scenes. So the next step would be to go over your brand colors. So below where you can add your logos on the left side, we've got how to add your brand. So again, you can hit the plus and it will give you an option of, dragging and dropping around the color wheel or whatever you want to call it. Or you can just copy and paste what's called a hex code into it. Now you should be able to get this if you do have a style guide. It should come with a hex code to it. And again, if you don't and you've had your logo designed, just ask the designer and it would take them 2 seconds to flick you through the code that you can use, and that way it's always going to be the same, which just adds a little bit of nice consistency to it. So you can go through, add all of them. So for Mame, similar to the style guide, I've added all of them individually, and then we can use them anywhere that we need. And then we've got the brand fonts. So figuring that you've got your fonts on your computer somewhere that you can use, you can hit the upload a font button, and you can upload the different styles of fonts that you do use. So for us, with Mame, it's the light font we uploaded their medium font for the subheadings, and then again their bold font for the headings. So once you've uploaded those, you can then, just to recap on that, once you've uploaded those, you can actually go through and set the heading, the subheading, and the body style. You may not have all 3 of those in a style guide, but at least you can then set some different weights. When I say weights, I mean bold or not bold, basically, for headings or for subheadings. You can even change the font size on them as well. You can make them italicized if there's the option to do so. And so you can load that in, and once you have, it'll look a little something like this. So you'll see that if I go back 2 slides, these headings, subheadings, and body is almost exactly the same as their style guide. So we know it's always going to be really consistent. And once you're done, this is what it should look like. So now that you've set all of those things, you can go forth with confidence, basically. It's super easy from here out. So I wanted to show you how to do the first design. So I'm going to actually hop out of this slideshow for a second and hop into my browser so that I can show you in real time rather than just relying on screenshots. So pop out of here. I'm going to open it in a new tab so you don't see my million tabs that I have open, which is extremely unhealthy. Cool. There we go. So now that we're in Canva, I've gone back to all your designs, which is on the left-hand menu there. And if you've used Canva before, you'll have all your designs kind of loaded in that you've ever used. And if it's your first design, if you're creating a new design, at the very top right corner, there will be a button that says Create a Design. And if I hit that, it does this, move my camera again. If I hit that, it'll do this awesome thing of suggesting things for you. So it'll give you some random things to start with, which you can scroll through. Or if you know what you're posting. So in Eleanor's case, it'd be an Instagram post. And if I type Instagram, it'll give you all the options that you could possibly need, which is super helpful. And it will already be in the size that you need it in. So when you do export it, when you're ready to post it, you don't need to fiddle around with anything. It's all set up, all ready to go. So we'll start with a story. So if I go down to Instagram story and I click on that, it's going to bring up a new tab, and that will bring up some area that we can play around with. So if you're new to Canva, there's a whole bunch of options that we have. So in the left sidebar, you'll see we've got some tabs running down the side. First one is templates. So there's already heaps of templates that have been made for Instagram and just in general on Canva. So that's extremely helpful if you're not a designer and you're not sure where to start, because you can kind of start searching for what you want. So let's just say that you're a brand new business and you want to create a story kind of announcing that you're going to open soon or something like that. You might want to search for something like coming soon. And you'll see it has heaps of cool little graphics once you've got a pro account that you can use. So you can scroll down and it will just go on forever and ever and ever and ever. So you're never really going to run out of ideas. And if you're on a free account and you weren't branding this, you would probably click into these and then upload them as they are with the new text on them. But that would mean that all of your posts are going to have different text, different image styles, different, this, that, and the other, rather than staying consistent. So by doing it this way, we're going to be able to make it really look like your brand, even if you're using a templated design, I suppose. So let's start with this, our opening one here, because that's pretty simple and it's got an image in there, so we can play around with that. So On the absolute left side, we've got some other options. We have uploads, and if I hit that, you'll see it's got all the logos that we uploaded earlier, which can be dragged and dropped into the design. If you click on it, it'll also just drop it in, and you can do whatever you want with it, basically. Or you can upload new files. So these uploads are ones from your actual computer. So if you have shots of your staff, if you have shots of yourself or things that you want to use for this, this is where you're going to want to do it. And it will save all the ones you've ever used as well, which can be quite useful if you're going to reshare content. Or if you're going to have an Instagram story and then an Instagram, news item feed image with the same photo in both of them as well. It'll save it so you don't have to double up on your work. And then what I love about Canva Pro as well is if I hit on the photos, the next tab along, this is all premium stock photography, which is awesome. So you can type whatever you want. So for this one, we want to get a photo of a business opening. So if I just type open for business, you'll see it has heaps of stuff that we can use straight away. And with templates like this, where there's already a block and an image in it, it's as simple as clicking and dragging into that box to replace the image. So I really quite like this one here. So I'm gonna click and drag that over and it will just straight up fill it, which is pretty cool. Now you see it's like cropped to the box. So if I wanted to rearrange that a bit, you just need to double click it and it will bring it up like this, and you'll be able to see where it's kind of going. It even gives you some helpful little guides so you can make everything nice and centered. And then if I click out of it, that looks pretty cool, I reckon. I might move it a little bit over. Okay, I can't waste time fiddling around with that, but so that's cool. So you can easily replace images, and they're all premium stock photography, and you have the license for them because you're licensed to Canva. And then if we go to the next one, we've got elements, and in here you've got heaps of cool little things for stories and stuff like that. You can use animations, which is really quite cute, kind of like what you can when you're actually doing an Instagram story anyway. And like the images, you can search for things. So if I wanted to add a little flower in here, I could just type flower and it will give you, again, heaps and heaps and heaps of cool little things. So say, for example, I want to drop this one in. I'll just drag it in, drop it in, and it's got a little animation style to it as well, which is pretty cool. And that doesn't look great, but that's fine. You use the ones that will look good with your graphics and stuff like that. And like Eleanor said, you don't want to probably overdo it, and just make sure that any of these things are quite consistent. Then if we go down to text, it gives you heaps of options, but because of what we did earlier, we have access to all of our heading styles already and all of our content styles already. So if I hit add a heading, it'll add it in the style that I've already set it, which is excellent. And then all you need to do is, you know, change your font size and stuff like that to kind of make it fit. But for a template like this, all we really need to do is just change the fonts and things on these existing blocks to what we want. But just so you know, you can actually add extra headings and stuff like that in there. And you have all your controls over the top and how that looks as well. So we've got other things, so styles, and that will show your color scheme, which we've loaded in. You've even got audio, so you can add audio over the top of Instagram stories and Instagram feeds. And it will give you heaps of options again, and you can search that. You can even add video, and this is pretty cool. So if I wrote open for business again, I write it correctly. Say you're a florist and you want this to be where this image is, I can drag and drop that video in there and it will load in a video instead, which can be really, really good for engaging content because as we know, video does really, really well. And then you have things like backgrounds as well that you can use that are just like kind of standard, which might be good for things like a quote block, stuff like that. And those are the main controls that I'll show you, but let's go back to actually setting this out so that it looks really nicely. So I'm going to add that image back in because I like it so much. And then we're just going to change the styles of these. So if I hit onto one of these, in this top kind of bar here, you can change your fonts. So here we've got the font that it's chosen as now, which is called Now. But if I hit that, it'll give me options of a list of them, but it will at the very top give me the options for the fonts that we actually use. So I can hit the light one, or maybe I want to use like a subheading style. So I'll hit the medium version. For this part, we'll switch that again, and we'll make that the bold version. And it will keep it in the same font size as well as what the template is. So that'll make it nice and easier. And you can align things as well. It gives you heaps of guides, like everything's drag and drop, so it's really simple. But you can kind of drag and drop things around. It will tell you when things are center and when they're not center, which, so if you don't have a good eye for space and things, it'll still kind of show you what you're doing anyway, to help out a little bit with alignment. And then we're going to change this one as well. So we'll change that to medium as well. And then we'll drag that up so it's nice. You can even select multiple things. If you hold shift down, grab a couple of things at once. And then if we wanted to change some colors, so say we wanted this date to be the green color from the brand, we can hit this color, text color bit here. And even though it will give you a bunch of different fonts, it'll show your brand fonts first. So it makes it super easy. We can just click the green one. And yeah, so it makes it really, really easy. So I'll delete some of these things, make it a little bit cleaner. Maybe I'll grab these, move it down, move this little thing down. And then once you're happy with how that's looking, it's as simple as exporting it for whichever platform you're using it on, and then you can use it however you need. So using things like Later will allow you to just upload that to Later, which is the scheduling platform. And that way it will just schedule it all out for you, make it super, super simple, and just make it really consistent. So it's the small things that people notice when things don't look quite right. And a lot of that is down to using different fonts all the time, using different colors all the time. When people see that color, when people see that font, they're going to remember your brand. So it's really important that we keep up with that and we make it so that you're using everything across the board, basically. And Canva does make that really easy because it does do Facebook graphics, it does YouTube thumbnails, it does just about anything, and it will give you templates specifically for that purpose, that platform, and that size. And then exporting is easy as. So if we're exporting this one, in the top right corner, you've got download here. I'll hit that, and you can download it as a video if you want to, which will allow you to upload it as a reel, or as a reel, as a story video as well. Or you can just export it as a flat JPEG, which is just an image file. So if it has a video in it or it has an animation in it, it won't show the animation. So it depends on how you're using it. It'll give you the most suggested one. So for this, obviously, because there's movement involved, it'll recommend that you export it as a video. And then all you need to do is hit download, and it will start saving it and download that. And then when it comes to recreating those kinds of graphics and using a similar style every time, something that you can do as well in Canva, if I refresh this page now, okay, so it just downloaded that for me, and now it's super easy for me to just upload that from my phone or from my thing. You can also get Canva on your phone, by the way. It's a little bit more of a pain to use than on desktop, but it's not going to show me the thumbnail for this, but eventually it will once it saves. But what you can do is, if you've already set up a template, you can then make a copy of that, edit it, make as many copies as you want, so you have a variety of different templates that you can use for different things. And it's as simple as that. I hope that's been helpful. I'm going to hop back on the keynote. And yeah, so does anyone have any questions at all around that side of things?
We have one got sent through. I have a logo and colors, but no brand fonts. How should I go about getting some?
Okay, so there's a couple of different things that you can do for that, and I can send out some resources. But one, if you've already had a logo designed by someone, most designers will have stored a copy of your font. So what you can do is go and contact them and get the font. But if it's something that you don't have professionally designed, and you've just got the logo, or you've had a logo for a really long time and don't have access to that kind of thing, there are some programs online that you can use to identify fonts or identify similar fonts. So one of them is called Font Squirrel. They have a find my font type thing where you can upload your logo, and it will grab the text from your logo and it will try and find the same font or very similar fonts that you can use. And that can be quite helpful if you're not really sure. Sometimes that happens with us if we're doing websites. We'll have someone has a logo and it's just a flat graphic. They don't have any, you know, high res versions. They don't know who the designer was and things like that. And we have to go and then find that. And even if it doesn't find you an exact font, as long as you find something that's quite similar to it, that looks good with it, looks good with your colors, that should be totally fine. And outside of that, there's other resources like Google Fonts has a really easy to search, I guess, database of fonts that are free to download. You can search by whether they're sans serif fonts, whether they're hand script fonts, what type of fonts they are, what weight of font, whether they're really thick and bold, that kind of thing. And you can download those fonts for free as well, to make that easy. Yeah.
Google Fonts are free on Canva, aren't they? Like on a free account, you can use Google Fonts. Is that right?
Yeah. So that list of fonts that we had when we opened up the font tab when I was editing the design, that loads in a lot of the Google fonts. It doesn't load in absolutely everything, but it will mostly load in a lot of the more popular ones. So even if you want to find a font that you really like through there, and then just make sure when you're creating new graphics and things like that, that you stick to that font every time, basically. Yeah, it's easy to browse as well because you can see a bit of a preview of what that font's going to look like as you're scrolling through it. And that might be an easy way of finding something as well.
So even if, just out of curiosity, say you couldn't afford to pay for the pro account, theoretically you could just use Canva free, and if you either had Google Fonts or if you found a font that was very similar on Google, then you could do all of this on the free account because you could still pick colors and put your logo images on. You just wouldn't have the whole brand kit. Is that right?
Yeah, so you wouldn't have the brand kits. So when it comes to your colors, you would have to, every time you do it, you would have to copy and paste that hex code in. Every time you pick a font, you have to search for the font out of the list of their fonts that you use. The logos are fine because you can upload them to that upload section and you can use that generally. But the pro account really just saves you heaps of time because all of the colors, all the fonts are already preloaded. And then it also allows you to access things like stock photography, stock videography, that can, sometimes you can get free stock photos, but the ones that you actually find on Canva are actually quite good. They don't look like woman laughing, eating salad kind of photos. They're like actually relatable looking. So
cool. Awesome. That's it for now. But if anyone does have any more questions, feel free to send them through to any of us and we can get them answered for you in whatever means necessary.
Yeah, awesome. All right, thank you. Thanks, Nick. Cool. So that is pretty much the end of the webinar, but I just wanted to thank everyone who, as a part of registering, donated to the charity that we've chosen to donate to as a part of all of our webinars. They're called the Skylight Charity, and they are a local non-for-profit that helps support people who are dealing with mental illness and also the families who support those people as well. And they're a great bunch. So thank you very much for supporting them, and make sure you check them out if you want to as well. And you're welcome to support them outside of obviously the webinar. And for anyone that doesn't know and have just like randomly come across this webinar, we are doing them for the entire year, once a month. We're mixing up, we're collaborating with different businesses, and we're collaborating with a different person every time as well, just to promote their business and also offer some value that isn't our specialty but ties into the digital space really well. So thank you, Eleanor, so much for coming on today. I've missed doing a webinar with you, so it's been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. It was it was awesome. I really appreciate you having me involved in your series. I think what you're doing is awesome because, like you said, you're exposing, you know, other businesses, and you're providing your community with so much value as well. So thank you.
Thanks. And of course, if anyone does have any questions outside of this, like, it's a lot of information in quite a compact amount of time. So feel free to email or give us a call to either Eleanor or myself, and we're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have had during the webinar, or during, if you've watched the recording afterwards and you had any like things that you just niggling you in the back of your mind, please get in touch. And I will also be sending out a follow-up, which will just have some additional resources in it. So we'll link you guys to the tools that we were talking about, and some extra kind of hints and tips around branding and social media and stuff like that that I think will really help. So watch out in your inbox for that. And again, thank you very much for coming. I hope everyone has learnt a little something today, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, time to go back to work. Awesome. All right, thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time, hopefully.
Catch you later.